this influencer, TikToker, she posted a divorce registry, apparently, for her family and friends. And like, buy me stuff because I'm getting divorced, basically. Included a range of items such as wall art, bed linens, and a dining table that cost over $3,000. Here's what she said. I do want to just be clear. The existence of the divorce registry does not mean that you have to give to the divorce registry. She said in her TikTok video, there is zero expectation. Thanks for clearing that up. I think people just thought you were bold.
Don't get anything from me, but in case you did, here are some ideas.
Right. Hey, everybody, what's happening? It's another edition of the I Just Want This Done Divorce Podcast. And we're excited. We are excited to see you today. It is I, Rayford Dalton Palmer, and Rahul Iyer. We're here today to host you for yet another journey into broadcast excellence in divorce. So we've got some exciting news for you today because we've got an update on the Coldplay Kiss Cam lady. And we're going to bring this right up front. We're not going to tease and please at the end of the show. We're going to do it right up front for you people who have short attention spans. So you'll be able to get this. But please like, share, and subscribe before you click off. But actually, no, listen to the whole show, please. Okay. We're talking about Amy Schumer and Chris Fischer. Sorry, no.
Not Chris Pratt. Not that we know of
Chris
anyway.
Pratt. By the way, great name on his handle on Instagram is Pratt for those of you who are Chris Pratt fans. Also, Indian divorce law changing. And since India is a huge country with a giant population, has both a deep religious tradition, but also English common law. It's a very interesting kind of hybrid. And they've had a fairly major change in their divorce law we're going to talk about. Rebecca Gayheart's divorce update, which I did not know was going on, but apparently it has been for some time. Some holiday divorce advice from your favorite elves at the I Just Want This Done Divorce podcast. And then 7 signs someone's unhappy in a relationship, an article in Psychology Today. Some Tinder using AI, which should be interesting and a little scary. Bill Ackman is a billionaire. His advice on how to meet ladies for you guys out there, especially you divorcing dads and need to find a lady. This is some lovely, good, strong advice. And then Hinge's founder making a new move in business we're going to talk about. Okay, kicking this thing off, let's go right into it with the Coldplay video story. So this is beautiful. This is a story in People. My mom used to subscribe to People, and it came out every week. The magazine would get mailed to our house. Slightly trashy, but good celeb articles in there. The headline is, exec caught on Coldplay kiss cam with married boss breaks her silence. Okay, so I'm going to not read the rest of the headline because this is funny. Kristin Cabot was with her boss, Andy Byron, and friends at a Coldplay show in July when they were caught on camera. Remember, this was all over the internet and made the news too. Basically, Coldplay had a kiss cam like you would see in a baseball game, right? And it was going around to show different people. The people would be kissing or whatever. And it briefly stopped on this lady and her boss. And they were kind of canoodling. And instead of just kissing, which probably would have been the better move, they saw they were on the screen, and you remember she like collapsed, melted straight down under the railing, and you couldn't see her. And the guy looked sort of startled. So that got Coldplay's attention, and the lead singer, what's his name, Rahul?
What is his name? Chris Martin.
Thank you. So Chris said something during the concert. He like jokes about it. And it's like, hey, what's going on up there? And of course, that made everybody pay attention to it. Had those people just had a little smooch, the camera just would have kept going. You know, nobody would have paid any attention.
What do they call that? They call that the Streisand effect, right? I think it's where you try and hide or censor information, and it makes it even more, it puts even more light on it, emphasizes it even further. So they, like you said, just sort of ducked or just pretended like just kept kissing. It would have just panned off, kept panning.
Yeah, a little smooch and nobody would have known the better. Instead, they just made it into this whole show, and we know what happened. It melted down. It went actually supernova. By the way, trial lawyer tip, if somebody says something that's really ouchy for your case, if it's objectionable, fine, but make just a really low-key objection. Don't freak out about it and make a big objection because you're underlining it. If there's a jury, especially, you're underscoring the thing by making a big deal out of it. And sometimes it's better to just not say anything and let it ride and deal with it later. All right. The trial practice tip for you guys, a little bonus. Okay, so this is great. Months after a mega viral clip of her and her boss at Coldplay concert upended her life. What upended her life was kind of going with her boss and canoodling. I think the clip was secondary.
And she was HR, wasn't she?
She was the head of HR
That's
at
right.
this place, and they weren't married to each other. Here's her quote. I made a bad decision and had a couple of high noons. Helpfully, People magazine has in parentheses, alcoholic, just in case you folks out there don't know. By the way, official drink of sorority girls everywhere. How do I know? My oldest stepdaughter is a recently graduated sorority girl, now in law school. My youngest stepdaughter is a sorority girl currently in high school, and they can verify this.
No, not high school, not high school.
College. Thank you. She graduated high school. She's now in college.
She's not drinking while she's in high school.
Correct. But I can vouch for the fact that this is the official drink of sorority girls everywhere. And also ladies of all ages, apparently. So this is the new wine cooler. In my day, as they say, it was Seagram's wine coolers. Okay.
Although you had those Smirnoff ices, right? Remember those?
That came a little later. The Smirnoff Ice, yeah. The Seagram's Golden Wine Coolers, famous ad by the great Bruce Willis. Back then when he got into his blues singing phase, which was
That's right.
as bizarre as Don Johnson with his rock and roll hit, which was a true thing. Okay. In first interview since the fallout, it was quickly known as hashtag Coldplay Gate, of course.
Everything's a gate.
And hashtag I made a bad decision, had a couple high noons, and danced and acted inappropriately with my boss. Well, yeah, I would say so.
This message sponsored by High Noon, right?
Yeah, that's right. Sponsored by High Noon. By the way, High Noon, if you want to sponsor us, we also welcome several cases of your beverages.
Yeah, send over the tequila seltzers especially. That's the kind I go for, the tequila seltzers, not the vodka ones.
This is not an ad for alcohol because we get in trouble for that. But we're welcoming the quiet sponsorship. We will not do advertisements. But we might prominently display the cans behind us or something on the show.
Or we'll just drink it while doing the podcast.
That'll make it even funnier. All right. So she says, and it's not nothing. I like that line. It's not nothing. But talk about downplaying it. Then she says, I take up accountability and I gave up my career for that. Okay. When you say you take accountability, but you say it's not nothing, you're kind of minimizing it. She said, that's the price I chose to pay. I don't think you chose to pay the price. You paid the price. Had you had the choice, you would not have paid any price.
It's like lining up for Disney and going in is choosing to pay the price. You know?
That's exactly right. That's choosing to pay the price. And it is expensive.
Uh-huh.
All right. And those kids, after about 2 days, 3 days, folks, just Disney's enough. Do the rides in the morning, in the afternoon, go back to the pool. Now that's my advice on that, or my experience share. Okay. Cabot and Byron were friends at the Coldplay show at Gillette Stadium in Foxborough, Mass. On July 16, when they're shown together on the kiss cam with arms wrapped around each other. I mean, come on now. Chris Martin joked from stage that they might be having an affair. Well, Chris, that wasn't a bad guess. We don't know, but it is suspicious. The video racked up 100 million views within days, turning Cabot into what the New York Times described as a punchline and a target almost overnight. Prior to the moment, Cabot told the UK newspaper The Times in a separate interview, she had a, quote, big happy crush on her boss. That's a quote. By the way, what are you doing? Who is telling a newspaper this stuff? I definitely thought this is a quote. I definitely thought he was a good looking guy. And I had that thought of, if I didn't work here, Cabot said, what?
Yeah, forget about the fact that he's married and all that stuff, but, and she's married, right?
So wait, what this is saying is Cabot told this newspaper before the incident. It's not clear that they mean she told the newspaper before the incident or that before the incident she had a crush on him.
Right. I think that's what it is.
Because this company was unknown until this happened. Well, the funny thing is she's not making it better. How is this better to say you had a crush on him? The status of Byron's relationship remains unclear. We can guess, right, Rahul? Probably not amazing.
Exactly.
Nonetheless, quote, I didn't think my separation would have come as a surprise to Byron, but his definitely did for me. Cabot told the Times. To have someone else going through it at the exact same time that you can talk to was an amazing support. So we're turning a negative into a positive. This is actually very good. They're both getting separated so they can support each other.
I know. Look at that.
Fascinating.
Isn't that nice to be there for each other?
At the time, Cabot said she and her second husband, so she's on number 2 when this went down, the CEO of a rum distillery, and a member of one of Boston's most storied families. Was it like Paul Revere's?
Yeah.
They were going through an amicable separation, which his spokeswoman, you got to have money if you have a spokeswoman, previously confirmed to People. My immediate reaction was, holy S, Andrew's here, Cabot told the Times of that night at the concert with Byron. Like, Shocker, didn't know he would be here. Crazy, we're both at Coldplay.
What do you mean? Our seats are right next to each other.
I mean, what are the chances?
I know.
We're in the middle of incredibly and amazingly amicable separation. I was worried I would embarrass him. He's an amazing guy and doesn't deserve that. Okay, this is so wild.
I know.
I love that she claims that she was surprised the dude was at the concert. That's phenomenal. Here we go. Wait, here it gets better. Wait, I didn't know this story was going to be this juicy, ladies and gentlemen. She added, quote, then a beat later, and it would have been a beat later because Coldplay's playing, my mind turns to, oh God, Andy's my effing boss, end quote. This is a bad look. Boston's not a big town. And while it wasn't an astronomer event or anything, that's the name of their company, there could have been investors or other staff there. Oh, geez. What? This is just crazy. She says she lives with it every day. She recalled being recognized while pumping gas weeks later when a stranger called her disgusting and told her, quote, you don't even deserve to breathe the same air that I breathe. Well, that's a little much, folks.
That's a little extra, as they say.
Take it easy. She paid enough of a price. Her children became reluctant to be seen with her in public. Well, yeah, okay. Anyway, she insisted she was not in a sexual relationship with Byron, Astronomer's then CEO, and the concert marked the first and only time they kissed. Okay. Well, there you go. All right, that's that story. So anyway, she's not making it better with this tell-all interview. That's for sure.
Yeah.
Okay, Rahul, tell us I'm fascinated by Amy Schumer.
Right. I think she's lost like 30 or 50 pounds or something. So yeah, so this is a Us Magazine article. And we read about how Amy Schumer and her husband, Chris Fischer, have split just a few days ago. They've been married 7 years, and a source confirms to Us Weekly that their marriage ended on good terms. She initially posted an Instagram that was deleted, and then, something to the effect of blah, blah, blah. And this was her actual words. She's a comedian, right? Blah, blah, blah. Chris and I have made the difficult decision to end our marriage after 7 years. She said, we love each other very much and will continue to focus on raising our son. We would appreciate people respecting our privacy at this time. So,
not inherently exciting, but the internet has done its thing.
Well, right, exactly. And so it's like, again, it's a Streisand effect, right? So essentially they're saying, their separation has been months in the making because they've been figuring out how it will look, particularly for their 6-year-old son, Gene. They already, I guess, sold their Brooklyn townhouse for $11 million back in November. Ooh. And yeah, their goal was to make the transition, according to this article, as smooth as possible, not to disturb their son's day-to-day, which is really good, right? So, and they say the source explains to Us Weekly that the pair's marriage simply lost its spark, which led them to go separate ways.
The best line was that one you told me about when we were doing our show prep.
What was that? We were joking around. It's like, Amy Schumer and Chris Fischer have announced that they're getting a divorce. The decision came when Fischer realized he was married to Amy Schumer. So, I mean, in the style of Saturday Night Live, right? So, throwback to the old Norm Macdonald style of joke telling.
Yeah, well, we love Norm on the show. We're big Norm Macdonald fans. Rest in peace, Norm. We love you. Yeah, but Amy Schumer, I mean, it was like one funny movie, and then I don't think she's that funny.
I saw her live here in Illinois. I don't know. I can't think of the name now. It had John Cena in it. They have a prenup. Well, I believe, and so I read somewhere they did. So we'll keep abreast on the situation. Given that she's a comedian, we've got to take some joking shots at the situation. So that's right.
That's right. We want prenup. All right. So moving on. Okay, this is an interesting story. So we've got a story in Entertainment Weekly, which I guess is now 24/7 because it's on the internet. But okay, influencer response to criticism. What's funny is now we have news based on social media. So now it's now newsworthy when people just like post videos and tweets and they blow up. It's like these aren't necessarily newsworthy people, but the reaction to stuff has become news. And maybe that's how desperate the press is to fill a 24-hour news cycle. But anyway, a TikTok video on July 28th, this story is actually from the summer, but we've, on our never-ending quest for interesting material, we found this one. It's funny. So this influencer, now I don't know how many followers she has, but she's a TikToker. She uploaded a video in the summer. She posted a divorce registry, apparently, for her family and friends. And like, buy me stuff because I'm getting divorced, basically. Yet an online gift list included this story from People, included a range of items such as wall art, bed linens, and a dining table that cost over $3,000.
Hey, I need new things.
or 3 large if you're in the mob, I guess. Okay. Anyway, it included a range of household items. Murray, 43, a content creator. Okay, she has 450,000 TikTok followers. That's a lot more than me. So she's doing something right on social media. She didn't expect to receive several rude messages about her decision to create the registry. Here's what she said. I do want to just be clear. The existence of the divorce registry does not mean that you have to give to the divorce registry. She said in her TikTok video, there is zero expectation. Thanks for clearing that up. I think people just thought you were bold.
You don't get anything from me, but in case you did, here are some ideas.
Right. It was, quote, it was set up because over the course of 3 months after the split, I had so many people asking how they could support and if they could replace things that I lost in the divorce. Press X to doubt, as they say in video games.
Exactly.
Oh, yeah. So many people were asking how they could buy me stuff.
How can we replace what you've lost?
I think when they said support, they meant, can we buy you a coffee and commiserate? We go back to harken back to that story you told about a few shows ago where they tell you the things not to tell people when they're getting divorced.
Exactly. Can I buy you something for your new house?
By the way, like, share, and subscribe. I just want this done. We bring education and entertainment. We don't bore you guys. So, by the way, we were supposed to have an interview of Diana Romanov, a divorce lawyer, on this show. Unfortunately, we had all kinds of audio issues yesterday. We couldn't stream yesterday. So we're sorry about the delay in the stream. This will be published at the normal time, which is about a week from today. But we don't have Diana Romanov. She's going to be moved to January. Blaine Anderson, Dating by Blaine, famous matchmaker, is going to be on the show January 15th. And that's the stream date. And then the show will be published the week after. So that's going to be very exciting. She's blowing up all over the internet. We're super excited to talk to her. And she's a real level-headed dating coach, and she doesn't slam men. Actually, my young son, well, they're not that young anymore, but they're in their 20s. They appreciate her because she's got a very positive attitude, and she's giving practical advice beyond be taller and be rich.
What can I do to get better at my dating stuff? You got to be taller and you've got to be richer.
Yeah. She gives actionable intel on how to do things. So then she says she isn't good at accepting or asking for help. Oh, that's interesting. But was discovering she needed a variety of things as time passed. Don't we all? I mean, we all need a variety of things as time passes. The influencer alleged the majority of people who reached out and donated but experienced being in her position themselves. Okay, well, I guess it's working. Appearing to hold back tears, she said, quote, folks have been through this before, understand the reality, understand how difficult it is to deal with the logistics or logistical part of all the physical things you lost at the same time as having your life, foundation, and future ripped out from underneath you. Okay, so I will say this in all seriousness. Divorce can be a life-shattering event and life-altering event, and you will lose stuff in the process. So you're dividing things. Somebody's going to get the silverware. Somebody's going to get other stuff. But it's probably how you approach it that is important. When you have 450,000 followers, people think you're kind of famous, and they sort of assume you have money. And I don't know what her content is, but they're watching that too. They see that, and they're like, well, this is a money grab, or they think maybe it's a money grab, and it looks like low rent is the thing. So it's perception, right? So I've heard of divorce parties, but it's the first time I've heard of a divorce registry. So I kind of get where she's coming from, but it became, this thing went viral. It blew up big time. Then a couple of people commented and said, oh, we think it's a smart idea. Anyway, if you're going to do something like that, just tread lightly and maybe share it with the people you think really want to help and understand your plight. People, especially in social media, they don't know whether you have 2 nickels to your name or $1 million. And, you can make your life look really rich and not have a lot of money online. So switching a little bit to some legal news, there's a development in divorce law in India. What's interesting is it seems like there's a push in the United States towards fault divorce or making divorce a little harder in some states, right? There's sort of this conservative movement, but what's going on in India?
Yeah, so this is an Economic Times article that says the Delhi High Court, Delhi is the capital of India, has delivered a significant ruling for couples seeking divorce. I guess now it says courts can waive the mandatory 1-year separation period for what they call mutual consent divorces, which would be akin to sort of an uncontested divorce here, where 2 people are ready to get divorced. They want to get divorced. And I think prior to this, they required a 1-year separation that was mandatory and not waivable. But I guess now they say this can be waived, and the court doesn't want to mechanically delay these separations, and that they will respect the autonomy of consenting adults, and they won't force couples into a year of an extra unhappy marriage should they not want it. Previously, I guess they had this quote unquote cooling off period for 6 months that couples would have to go through after they've alleged that the marriage has broken down beyond repair, it sounds like. But I guess that, including this 1-year delay, is no longer going to be enforced, because they say if 2 consenting adults want to move on, who are we to get in the way? Move on and let them go on to a different relationship. No need to keep them here if they're ready to go. And so I think that's a trend in the Western tradition of no fault. They don't have no fault divorce yet in India, but I think this is sort of little stepping stones perhaps towards that.
Yeah, and we've seen this trend happen in our state quite a while ago. We used to have a 2-year waiting period, and you could waive it. So that we've seen that trend, and that happened across the United States, the idea of making these barriers to divorce, dropping them if people were consenting, adults are consenting to the divorce. That is a trend we've seen here. So India is interesting because it has a Hindu religious tradition, among other religions, of course, combined with an English common law tradition after the English colonized India, right? They're still running common law.
Oh, yeah.
In India, which is a similar court structure to what happens in England.
Correct. Yep. And the United States.
Exactly right. We share that same tradition. So what's interesting is I've actually sold several copies of my book in India. I can tell from the sales. And the concepts apply in any common law country. I've sold them in Australia, New Zealand, Canada, the UK. We keep an eye on these legal trends too. And when we have any significant legislation to tell you about in the United States or some interesting stuff in foreign countries, we want to tell you about that because it's interesting. Another celebrity divorce item. Rebecca Gayheart moves to dismiss divorce from Eric Dane. Now, so the interesting thing is, I guess they're staying married. Rebecca Gayheart and Eric Dane aren't divorcing after all. The Jawbreaker, this story from Entertainment Weekly, links in the show notes as always. Jawbreaker actress 53 filed a request to dismiss her divorce filing from the Grey's Anatomy actor, Eric Dane, age 52, on Thursday. This article published a while back. So Thursday is not this past Thursday. But she dismissed this case with prejudice. What's interesting is we didn't pick this up when it happened, but I found it. I thought it was interesting. They met in 2003, married a year later in Vegas. We talk about the destination.
That's right.
Weddings.
Yep.
They have 2 daughters. Gayheart filed for divorce in 2018, 7 years ago. I don't know how this case was pending all this time. It cited irreconcilable differences. She made a statement to people at the time that they thought it was the best decision in their family, and that it gave kind of the typical statements celebrities give. The court warned the couple in 2019 that the judge might dismiss the case for delay in prosecution for lack of documentation. One wonders. So this is an interesting teaching point. Rahul, tell the folks about dismissal for want of prosecution.
That essentially is a fancy legal way of saying that no one's doing anything on your case, and I'm not going to let it sit around, and so we're going to dismiss it. That's what want of prosecution means. The court is left wanting for you to do something. And so if you're not doing anything, we'll dismiss the case. You can obviously refile or vacate. You got to do something. Which
we call a DWP. The courts call it a DWP around here. And you get a chance to refile. You get a period of time in which you can get back in on that case. One of the interesting things about divorce, Rahul, is the statute of limitations, right? There is no statute of limitations. Whereas you have a personal injury case or breach of contract, there is a limit of time in which you can file these cases. And when you have a case DWP'd, the problem is you might fall outside of that statute of limitations and not be able to ever refile. But in divorce, you can always refile. If it were dismissed for want of prosecution, either of them could have refiled easily at any time. But what's interesting is they continue to co-parent together. They went on a European vacation in 2022, hanging out in Mexico the following year. She was the spokesperson for Noxzema in the early 90s. She later was in Beverly Hills 90210, Urban Legend, and Jawbreaker. Dane's known for his work on Grey's Anatomy and Euphoria. And she hasn't appeared on screen since Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. Great movie, by the way. That was in 2019. I didn't think it was that long ago. That's the scoop on them. So I don't know why the court didn't dismiss this case a long time ago, but they must have done enough to keep the court happy. 7 years is nuts, though. Anyway, they're back together, so we'll see how that goes. Good for them. Moving on, Rahul, let's talk about the holidays and divorce. This is something we frequently get asked about. We have ongoing cases with clients. We have clients who've been divorced who are dealing with their first holiday since they've been divorced. What counsel do we give people when they say, they call us like this week, right? And they say, my ex-husband or my ex-wife is not going to agree to bring the kids over Christmas Day. Let's say it's something that's not in compliance with the parenting agreement. And these parenting agreements will say Christmas Day is with dad this year and Christmas Eve is with mom this year, and then next year it flips, or there's a number of ways to slice it. But it doesn't matter the details. But what matters is somebody says, I'm taking them to grandma's house that day. You can't have them. Give us some perspective on how the courts look at this in our area. We're in Chicagoland area. These like late breaking custody or visitation things. How do the courts view this?
Courts are of the mindset that, everybody knows when the holidays are. And if you have an existing agreement that says how holidays will be split, or an existing order that says how holidays will be divided between the two parties, the courts expect the people to follow it. Now, you can't unilaterally make these kinds of decisions, taking away time, etc. Now, that being said, if time is taken away, the courts don't look at that favorably. You obviously are going to risk getting penalized, sanctioned by the court in some capacity in the future. Now, that being said, I don't know that it's necessarily considered an emergency that requires a court to act immediately. It's really not an emergency. Emergency is, when you're risking like life and limb, really. I mean, if someone is going to flee the country, that would be an emergency. Not giving you a child on your parenting time is not an emergency. It's an emergency to you, but it's not a legal emergency. It's very upsetting. It's an emergency. It's an urgent matter. And it's completely abhorrent that, someone is going to keep a child away from a parent, whether or not it's, because they have a bona fide reason they think. It's still a violation, which could be considered, abuse of parenting time, interference with, parenting rights, etc. But it's one of those where you have to deal with it after the fact. You'll send out an email to the attorney saying, hey, you know what? It's his time. Please give him the child according to the order that we have in place. That's about all you can do, frankly.
Right. And the courts will say to people, we've been in on these emergencies on one side or the other. Our client insists that we file the motion. We tell them it's probably not going to work, but they want to do something. We go in on the so-called emergency, and it's December 23rd or 22nd. And there's a judge who's now in the appellate court who would famously say, hey guys, what day is Christmas? And they say, December 25th. And she would say, yeah, last time I checked, it's the same day every year.
Yeah, exactly.
Like you guys know this is coming. You could have worked this out 2 months ago or a month ago. This isn't an emergency because this isn't a surprise. You might say, well, the other person being a jerk at the last minute is a surprise because I thought I could rely on the agreement. But I think her point is you really should iron these questions out a month ahead of time and try to figure out what they're going to do. That may not always be the case. What I will say is what goes around comes around, and the court won't be happy about somebody disobeying the parenting schedule, and they might just order compensatory time in some fashion. And you're losing the meta case if you do a jerky move like that. And I talk about the meta case in my book, I Just Want This Done. Rahul, what can people do? What should people do step by step when they first want to figure out what the plan is and approach it politely, but they want to get a commitment from their ex-spouse about what's going to happen for the holidays? What should they do if the person says, yeah, I'm not going to follow the schedule? To give a quick bullet points. And I would start with ask nicely, in an email, in writing. But then what would you recommend? A client calls and they tell you this problem is developing.
People should, after you ask nicely, it doesn't happen, then you really should speak to your attorney, who will reach out to the other attorney now, preferably around, if you're talking about Christmas or this part of the holiday season, not Thanksgiving, then you want to reach out around that Thanksgiving, right before Thanksgiving, regarding Christmas, so that there's enough bandwidth there to get that resolved. By the time attorneys go back and forth, things happen. Irrespective of how fast your attorney might be, you still need to rely on the other side to respond. Their communication, there's a lot of people taking time off during this time of the year. So you really have to have a giant cushion of time to address these things and bring these things. So you write a letter or an email. If it doesn't work between the two of you, the attorneys have to address it. And if it still doesn't work, then you only have one choice. You have to go to court. That's why you want to build this out long enough where there is enough time for you to actually address this in court in a normal, non-emergency fashion versus, rushing in on the 11th hour saying, oh, I just found out I'm not going to get Christmas. Well, what'll the judge say? Well, you should follow your orders. This is not an emergency, but make sure you follow all your orders,
Exactly right. Best practice to tee up the issue early, like Rahul said, just to recap, set them up, get an answer, and a non-answer is an answer. So if they don't answer you, that's enough to bring emotion. If they refuse to answer and they're being mysterious, that may well be enough to drive, I recommend dealing with an actual answer, but a non-answer in a way is an answer, and you have a problem that you need to escalate. And maybe your attorney can start with an email or a call to the other lawyer before they file a motion. Again, when there's enough lead time, you can do these things. So we know that's tough, but that's the best way to address it. What's best practice with the children themselves in dealing with the holidays?
Like in what sense?
What I'm getting at is, I could just talk about it because I've been interviewed on this whole topic before. It's like, how do we treat the kids during Christmas and the holidays, especially if it's the first holiday since the divorce? They're going to be upset because things aren't going to be the same. So especially for young kids, the more you can keep things the same as they were and they see their grandparents the way they did before and they maintain a similar schedule, even if it's uncomfortable for both of you, if you can stand to be together for those days and your family can deal with it, and talk to a counselor's experience with this, with children about this. But the more things you can keep the same, especially with relatives. I didn't do the 2 Christmases thing when my boys were fairly young. I had a 14 and a 10-year-old. No, 18 and 14-year-old. We did Christmas in their home. I had already moved out and in the house like we always did. And they came down the stairs and we had the tree with the presents. And my ex was great about that. And we treated it like any other Christmas. I know the boys had a hard time, but we made it less of a hard time. And we maintained their schedule in terms of they went to my former in-laws. They went to their home like they always did on Christmas Eve. That was always a big deal for their family. And went to my family on Christmas Day after we did Christmas at the house, which it kept up the traditions as much as we could. That makes it as best of a tough situation as you can. And obviously, no fighting between the two of you, no nasty looks, no comments. Kids pick up on all that stuff. Just keep it light and focus on the children,
They didn't sign up for this, so they shouldn't pay the price.
Yeah, right. They didn't get a vote. And so it should be a fun Christmas for them or as nice as you can make it.
Right.
And maintaining the traditions to the extent you can is great. At some point, you might remarry. He or she's going to remarry maybe, and you're going to have to change things around. But you want to do your best to not jerk the kids around. It's going to get difficult when your new spouse has their family. And you're going to have to keep it focused when the kids are young on the family they know.
Right.
The both sides of their family, their grandparents, and dragging them to your new spouse's family thing. If it is interrupting or getting in the way of what they believe is their family, that's going to be a problem. So be very careful about that.
And you don't want your kids remembering Christmas as a time where they just sat in a car and drove around for the whole week. You want them to remember the things that they did at house. There are the memories there instead of saying, I was shuttled from place to place to place. I couldn't even breathe. I'm exhausted.
Now they're going to your new wife's family's thing. Then they're going to your parents' place, your ex-wife's parents' place, and then like 2 more Christmases at your place and her place. It's like out of control. So you have to try to redo it. Like, I'm divorced and remarried. We both have kids. I'm not going to my wife's family Christmas Eve thing. I'm going to my core family's Christmas Eve thing with my sons. My stepdaughters are going with my wife to their place. And it's not always perfect. Some years I have gone to that Christmas Eve thing without my sons. The one good thing is Christmas Day is a bigger deal for us. You try to make it the best you can and keep things stable for your kids. Okay, let's move on to something a little more interesting. Not more interesting, sorry. This is an interesting story, a little lighter, but this one is actually 7 signs someone's unhappy in a relationship. So we're here to help you stay married because a good marriage is better than a good divorce any day of the week, which we've said many times. This story by Alice Boyce, PhD in psychology today, link in the notes. This is a very recent story. It's good to identify problems in your relationship early because you can address them early before they become huge problems. So identifying this and being tuned into your partner is very important. An unhappy partner will, one, sabotage the other person's goals. Okay, they won't support them. They won't make an effort to help. For example, not helping their partner be on time for a class, sabotaging somebody's trying to improve their sleep, not trying to be quiet when somebody's trying to focus. Two, trying to weaken ties between their mate and their supporters. Like if they're getting divisive or divisive, depending on how you pronounce it, between your spouse and their family, or you're getting in between them and their friends. That's showing a sign of trouble in the relationship and a lack of respect for you. They deliberately hit your emotional raw spots. Sounds pretty obvious, but if they're poking you, stirring up trouble, making you upset about things they know are your weaknesses, that's not a good sign. Okay, I don't like this term, but I don't know where this came from, but have you heard the term yuck the other person's yum?
No, I have not heard that.
I don't know why I have a visceral reaction to this term, but let's just say like bum somebody out or rain on their parade, please. Like something like that. Yuck the other person's yum sounds like just some childlike thing you would tell kindergarten kids.
Yeah, I don't like that at all.
I don't like it when adults talk like children, I guess.
Yeah, exactly. It's very cringe. That gives me the ick, as they say.
Yeah, it gives you and we'll talk, there we go. It gives you the ick. So that gives you it's yucking your yum, I guess, ironically, right? It's like job your love, that thing that came out recently. Love your job. No, job your love. So yucking the other person's yum, it's kind of obvious. It's don't rain in their parade, meaning this is a subtle pattern and less obviously harmful. I'm quoting the story. Instead of mocking them for who they are, an unhappy partner might mock a TV show or a sport that they like. They're like, messing with them about this stuff or teasing them. And it might be minor digs. Now, some of this, you have to distinguish playful teasing from people trying to really take a shot at you. You might just have a thin skin. Here's another one. Criticize non-excessive self-care. I guess that the emphasis is on non-excessive, that they wouldn't criticize anyone else for. So if you're taking care of yourself like a gym membership or something, and they don't diss anybody else they don't knock anyone else for doing it, but they're attacking you, that's probably an issue about you're being sabotaged. Here's a deep-seated thing. If they see you trying to improve your health, fitness, or appearance, and they try to sabotage that, that is a sign of their own insecurity because they see you raising your number. We all know we have a number. We're a 1, we're a 5, we're a 10. There's an old Clint Eastwood line where he said in one of the movies, he's like, I rate her a 2 because I've never seen a 1 before.
That's funny.
Which is fantastic. Yeah. I give her a 2 because I've never seen a 1 before. In any event, we all have a number, and it's an aggregate of our looks, our career, our whatever, our mojo, take it, whatever it is. And we all know men's number is a little different than women. People complain that men are just about looks for women and et cetera. We're not going to get into the gender wars right now or whatever. But let's say the spouses get married and they're both 7s. And the guy starts going to the gym and he's pumping up and everything. He's whatever. He's looking better. He changes his outfit and all that stuff. First of all, she's probably thinking maybe he's having an affair, but she's maybe concerned this guy's moving up in the world and I'm feeling inadequate because his number's going up. And when people's numbers get way out of whack in a relationship, I'm going to credit a guy named Athol Kay, Atholkay. When I was getting divorced, I read some of his stuff. And it's written from a guy's perspective, definitely. And he takes some of it from the game world, dating game and day game and all that. And that I know that's controversial, but some of the core stuff there is legit. Athol Kay says, if your number falls in a relationship, let's say you get married in your 7s, your number goes down, you lose your job, you're not taking care of yourself, you're a slob, your spouse gets mad because they feel like they're getting ripped off. Yeah, I married a 7. I didn't marry a 5. What's going on here? And that can cause real strife. Well, conversely, if you're upping your game, they feel bad. Next one is keeping score. That's a big problem. And I call that not having a statute of limitations and double jeopardy, to use criminal law code. So Rahul, what do you think about that? Like the woman that beats up the guy, I shouldn't say women, but the person that beats up the other person for past crimes and misdemeanors from years ago.
I think it's bad, obviously, right? Because, you got to let go. Either do something about it, which isn't sort of needling someone, keeping score, like they say, or you say, you know what, this isn't working. You can't just bring stuff up selectively.
That's right.
You got to go either work through it, address the issue head on. It's the whole passive aggressiveness and kind of, remember that time you did X, Y, and Z and I was cool about it. It's like, just to stop. It's what's the point here? You guys are on the same team, so.
You get to be mad about it once.
Yeah, you were already mad about it. you can't just keep bringing it up.
Yeah, you can't just dig up stuff as ammo and beat people up about. Exactly right. 7, hold back positive comments about things the partner's proud of. You've got to reinforce people when they do good things. And withholding praise that is really bad, insidious stuff. So I thought it was a great article. Check it out. Next, these are kind of quick. So tell us about Tinder using AI. This is interesting.
Oh yeah, basically it's it's an article from TechCrunch that says that Tinder plans to use AI to better understand its users and improve its dating app. It'll ask you questions and then will want your permission to access your camera roll photos on your phone to basically learn about your interests and personality. It'll see all the photos you're using and basically to get a feel for who you are as a person, what kind of pictures you take. Obviously, huge privacy issues you can sort of see slapping you in the face with that. And so, I mean, it's a tough market, according to the article. They're facing a tough market where young people are leaning away from online dating for their IRL experiences. And so they're trying to sort of stir up, things and see what can keep it going. And obviously giving AI unfettered access to your camera roll is whether or not you have anything in there that shouldn't be there or that's really, really, private. I mean, everything is private. And just the fact that it's a breach of privacy, or not a breach because you're giving them permission, is just, I don't know how many people will be on board with this plan. Let's just put it that way.
It's just interesting that, we know AI is going to be kind of plugged into everything. So not a huge surprise, but interesting. And this, turning to more dating stuff, Bill Ackman, famous venture capitalist, Pershing Square Holdings, billionaire CEO, wrote... He posted his dating advice on Twitter for young men. And he said, many young men find it difficult to meet young women in a public setting. Now I'm intrigued. Mm-hmm. Then he said, reflecting on his youth, he offered what he said was his old go-to line. Here's the quote. May I meet you?
Hey,
I would
polite.
say that we've already met. By definition, you already met the person just by saying that. So the comments were hilarious. Somebody said, this is peak Riz, meaning like charisma. Somebody said, this ain't 1850s United Kingdom. Yeah, they got literally, the post was so awkward and cringeworthy kind of because he meant well. This is the quote from his post on X. I hear from many young men that they find it difficult to meet young women in a public setting. In other words, the online culture has destroyed the ability to spontaneously meet strangers. I do agree with that sentiment. I think it's caused a lot of weird social awkwardness. As such, I thought I would share a few words I used in my youth to meet someone that I found compelling. I love how he says this. I found her compelling. I would ask, may I meet you? Before engaging further in a conversation. I almost never got a no. Well, Bill Ackman, do tell.
Well, that's because you're Bill Ackman.
If you're a billionaire, you could say anything and you're almost never going to get a no. Inevitably enabled the opportunity for further conversation. I met a lot of really interesting people this way. I think the combination of proper grammar and politeness was the key to its effectiveness. You might give it a try.
Hey, I can't disagree.
My advice is just say hi, say hello to people and introduce yourself. Hi, my name is Rafe. Nice to meet you. And what's your name? There's no line better than that. To wrap this up, tell us about the Hinge founder. What's he up to?
Yeah, so Hinge founder and CEO, according to this Fortune.com article, is stepping down to start a new AI-first dating app. Justin McLeod is obviously the CEO of Hinge, and he says that he is stepping down to launch a new venture, AI-driven dating app called Overtone, which was part of Hinge at one point and then is a spinoff now. And it aims to use AI and voice tools to facilitate more meaningful connections and will operate independently while maintaining ties to Match Group, which is sort of the conglomerate, for lack of a better word, that holds all these various dating apps. So again, same thing, decline in user engagement. They're trying to look for AI. Everything has to have a splash of AI these days. So, how can we make it exciting and make it seem different while kind of giving the same sort of a feel? How do we get more eyeballs on these products? So I think they're all trying different things. So we'll see. Nobody knows really what Overtone is going to be about. It hasn't been released yet, but we'll let you know when we find out.
Yeah, we'll keep you advised. But
yep.
So Rahul, how can people find you online?
You can find me on LinkedIn and at Instagram at Chicago Divorce.
Awesome. And I'm at Rayford Palmer. You can see on the screen, we've got our handles, and the firm's at STG Divorce Law in Chicago and the suburbs. We're at stglawfirm.com. That's stglawfirm.com. I'm on X, Instagram, LinkedIn, Facebook. We have a private Facebook group, the Illinois Divorce Support Network, with 4,000 followers and growing. We are excited to have people join every day. No charge to join. It is anonymous to post. And our firm serves all of Chicagoland. We help smart, successful people get divorced better in Chicagoland. We've been at it for over 30 years. We've served somewhere around 10,000 satisfied clients. And we can help you too with your divorce. So let us know. We're happy to talk. We also provide divorce coaching services if you're not in Illinois. We can also provide referrals to qualified divorce lawyers across the United States and in Canada. So let us know. We're happy to help. And I can also talk about my book, I Just Want This Done, the book or that named the podcast, How Smart, Successful People Get Divorced Without Losing Their Kids' Money and Minds, available on Amazon, Kindle, Audible, and where all great ebooks are sold. Working on a revised edition of the book with expanded stuff, including how to win your trial, which is not in the book right now. The next book I'm coming out with, which the draft is complete and being edited, is I Just Want to Know How Smart, Successful People Decide on Divorce Without Fear, Uncertainty, and Doubt. That's coming out Q1, so next quarter. And we'll have Audible version, Kindle, all that good stuff, hardcover, softcover. That book is to help you decide what to do if you're not sure about your relationship. I don't tell you what to do, but I give you the tools to help you decide. Thanks very much for listening. As always, like, share, and subscribe if you like this content. Let us know what you like. Let us know what you'd like to see more of. We're bringing more interviews to you in the next year. And we love doing the show for you. Have a great day, everybody, and a happy holiday.